Test, test, test. Good evening. Call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, January 19th, 2026. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Roll call, please.
Shannon Derby.
Here.
Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Doug Brandt.
Here.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Here.
Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Mohusky.
Here.
Darla Leclerc.
Here.
Mark Bittner. He is not here.
Okay, then we can skip over number 4 at this point because Mark, I thought was going to join via phone call, but not so far. So we'll see what happens with that. On to number 5. Hang on one sec. Mark, is that you?
Yes.
Hi. So,
Sorry, no.
no worries. We were just going to skip over number 4, but now we'll go back. Consideration of any council member request to participate in this meeting from a remote location. Mark is joining us. Looking for a motion, a second to allow Mark to join us.
I'll make a motion to allow Mark to join us remotely.
Thank you. And
I'll second
by
it.
Shannon. Any council discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Shannon Derby.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc. Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Mohusky. Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
All in favor.
Okay, thank you, Mark, or thank you, everyone. Welcome, Mark. On to number 5, introduction of invited guests. Mr. City Manager?
Oh yeah, we're happy to welcome tonight to our council meeting Supervisor Johnson and Director Kyle Koenig, who are or Kornick, who are here to talk about recent academic performance. The podium's all yours. Thanks for being here on the coldest night of the year.
I want to apologize in advance. I've been trying to get over this cold, so I kind of if I start coughing, I apologize for that. Also want to introduce you to, we have a school board member here, Wendy Brandt. We also have the Koenig, McGee principal here, Chad Boutnick. So welcome to them. This information is a little bit old if you consider it coming out in November as being old. So it was nice of Mr. Cordell to invite us, and we're going to share some information about report cards in general. And then we'll share information about the Tours Public School District report card. Report cards can be looked at each of the schools, but because we only have about 10 to 12 minutes with you, we'll just focus on the district. You can also go in and look at each individual school when you have an opportunity to do that. If you could flip. So all schools in the state are required to have a school report card, as well as choice schools in the state. Our school report card came out on November 11th. This is data from the 24-25 school year. Students are tested in the spring of each year. Data is put together and then released for that previous year. We did put a link on there for you. If you want to go into that link, you'll see that is what the page looks like on DPI. You can put in any school district that you choose, and you can pull up their district report card as well as each of their individual report cards, for example, from their elementaries, middles, and high schools, and charter schools as well. Data is submitted to DPI. We submit that through the district, through our SIS, our student information system. DPI then takes all of that information and calculates it and comes up with a report card score. We put a link in there for you to take a look at data at a glance so you can see the pieces that DPI takes into consideration. This past year, you'll see that the score ranges have changed. Each year, the Department of Public Instruction takes a look at scores and decides how that's going to be presented. You'll notice that on the right-hand side, the ability to get into one of those categories got a little bit tougher. So before we flip to the next page, I'm just going to tell you that this year, the district is in meets expectations. So we're at 65, which is in the middle of meets expectations. If we were 2 points less, we would still be in there, but it would be a little bit on the lower side of that 3 stars. So let's talk about Two Rivers report card. You're going to notice a lot of information on this page. On the left-hand side, you're going to notice that it tells you in the very upper corner, it'll tell you that we're a K-4-12 district. It'll tell you our enrollment last year. It'll also tell you how many students open enrolled, or the percent of students that open enrolled. You'll also notice right below that the demographics of our district. And then over on the right side, it also gives you information on students with disabilities. So about 15% of our students have disabilities. We have about 44.7% of our students who are economically disadvantaged. And then we have 5.5% of our students are students who are English language learners. So you'll see the summary score, that 65 that I just told you, meeting expectations. And then you're going to see a pie. It has 4 slices. We kind of call it the pie with 4 slices. The bottom 2 slices are always the same. So on the bottom, you'll see a target group. The target group is in any school district, your lowest 25% learners. So after students take the assessment, it tells you your lowest 25%. Why? So that a district can focus on meeting the needs of students who need extra support. You'll see on the right that it tells you you're on track to graduation, which includes a variety of scores, and we'll show that to you on the next page. The top 2 pieces of the pie can change. So if you have a higher population of economically disadvantaged learners, that piece, that growth piece, is going to be a higher percentage than the achievement piece. Because the state knows that when you have students who are economically disadvantaged, they're facing a lot of other things on top of learning. So if a district has less economically disadvantaged, their piece of the pie for achievement, that purple piece, will be higher and their growth will be lower. Stop me if you have questions.
I have a question, Dan.
Yeah.
When you say percent of open enrollment, 6.6%, is that the amount that open enrolls to the district or the percent that open enrolls outside of the district?
Those are to the district.
To the district. How
Yeah.
many open enroll outside the district? Do you know that? Percentage of students?
I
that-
don't know the percent, Adam, but we just made a chart for because we're looking at realignment. I just made a chart for open enrollment in and out.
Okay,
If you would like me to send that to you, I can.
okay, thanks.
We have a higher population of coming in than going out.
Okay, thank you.
And I can show you that for the last 5 years or more if you want.
Thanks.
So there's your 4 pieces of the pie that are separated into each of those areas. You'll see, for example, over on the achievement, you'll see a purple line, which is the districts, and then you'll see a state average. You can see that achievement definitely is an area that our district needs to continue to improve on. So we're a little bit below average for ELA, which is English Language Arts, and a little bit more below for mathematics. You'll see though in growth, so that blue piece of the pie, you'll see that we're pretty even with the state of Wisconsin, that our students are growing at the same rate as the rest of the students in the state of Wisconsin, which is a positive. You'll see pieces that go into the target group, that's the green piece of the pie. You'll see that one of our challenges with that 25, remember that's your lowest 25% of students district-wide. You'll see that achievement is low for those kids. Growth looks pretty average. Chronic absenteeism is a challenge. And graduation, we would like that number to be higher as well. And then finally, what you're going to see is on track to graduation. Our district, and we just actually was presenting on the realignment today, and we were talking about chronic absenteeism and how much our students have improved since the COVID time, where we had lots of chronic absenteeism, meaning that we had kids missing school And so right now, our percentage is at 95% of kids attending school. Now, we do have the flu coming in these last couple of weeks, so we'll see how that changes. But that is 2 percentage points above even last year's. So definitely kids are, we're doing a lot of positive things. We're reaching out to parents. We're sending positive postcards. And when kids aren't attending, we're also reaching out to parents to have meetings, sit down with them to make sure that we're getting kids in school. If you're not in a seat, you're not learning. So we need kids to be at school. You'll see a graduation rate, as well as why do you see 3rd grade and 8th grade? Well, the state determines that 3rd grade English and 8th grade graduation are the most, or 8th grade mathematics are the two most important pieces of students being successful after they leave high school. All right, Kyle's going to share some statistics with you.
Thanks, Diane. So this next graph, we were here last year, and I showed this graph to the group last year, and I said, well, hopefully when we're back again in a calendar year, we'll see more marketed improvement. And we're happy to say that we have improved considerably. Whenever I show this graph, I always say yellow's good. So we want to be yellow, we don't want to be purple. And you could see that back in 21, 22, and even prior to that in 2021, we were really low. In fact, out of the 420 school districts in the state of Wisconsin, we were the 416th. That's no place that we want to be. And we've made some pretty great gains over the past few years to put us up at that 65 number, which is meeting expectations. Go to the next slide. You get asked a lot of how does this compare? Great, these are numbers. How do we compare to local municipalities, local districts? How do we compare to other schools throughout the state? So I track our local districts. So that would be mostly our county districts, some outliers. And then I also do a comparative analysis with the state of Wisconsin. I do both of those because some of our local school districts are a bit apples to oranges as they compare to us. Case in point, Manitowoc is much bigger, Mishicot is much smaller. So when I do the comparative analysis through the state, I look for schools that are commensurate to our size and our population. The first graph that's up here right now, as you'll see, is obviously the school districts around our area. So it's mostly county schools, but you'll also see in there Sheboygan Falls, Sturgeon Bay, Kewaunee. What I do is for every column, I will mark in blue the score of the school, the overall score. That's the highest for that year of these comparable schools. And then I'll mark in red a compare to the lowest school. And unfortunately in 21-22 and in 22-23, we had that red number. So compared to all these schools, we were the lowest. As you look to 24-25, our highest school in the surrounding area, Sturgeon Bay, at an 83.2. But I think one of the most interesting things is as you look in that far right column, because growth and change is what we're looking for, right? And so as you look for that growth, you'll see that Two Rivers has the highest growth of any of these schools over those past 4 years at 13.7. We're not where we want to be, right? We want to be exceeding or significantly exceeding expectations. We want to be the top school on this chart. Takes a bit to get there, but we're continuing to climb. And if we look at the competitive or comparative analysis with state schools, you'll see something similar. On the left side, there are 10 other schools throughout the state of Wisconsin. In order to find these schools, I look at a few things. I look at per pupil expenditure. So we expend about $11,700 per pupil. So I look at other schools throughout the state of Wisconsin that are in that ballpark. Percent economic disadvantaged, as Diane told you, are at about 44%. So again, other schools that are in that ballpark. Our percent demographic makeup, our total enrollment, and our locale. So we are a city, or there's a city locale, there's an urban locale, there's a rural locale. So we want to make sure that we're comparing with the same locales. Again, as you track the change from left to right, and you find yourself in that rightmost colorful column, and look at that 4-year change, again, we sit at that 13.7, which puts us atop the change for the state comparative school districts. The average growth over these 4 years is 1.95. So it is good to see that we are far exceeding that. Both of these slides, this slide and the slide before this slide, they have links on the left. What I'm showing you right now is the school district. And as Diane said, we have all this data broken down for each individual school. So those links on the right side can be clicked on where it says district or the high school or L.B. Clark or elementary. And if you wanted to just jump right into the high school and look at how the high school compares, you can do that. So we'll compare it with Manitowoc Lincoln. We'll compare it with Mishicot High School. And then we'll also compare our Two Rivers High School with other high schools throughout the state that are of similar size. One thing to note, our high school did achieve its highest score ever this year, exceeding 70 for the first time at a 71. So it exceeds expectations. Go to the next one. Again, a few celebrations to go through. Our highest report card score since 16-17. We have the largest growth in English language arts performance as compared to our comparable districts throughout the state of Wisconsin. And our percentage of students in work-based learning opportunities is about 3 times that of the state. Work-based learning opportunities include work experience, co-op, youth apprenticeship, which many of you are familiar with. So if you'll see our numbers there on the right side, we do have 109 students participating in work-based learning, and that number will go up next year as we currently have more students participating in it this year than we did in years past. Some areas of continued growth. Diane had talked about achievement. I always talk about chasing the sky because the blue bar on the bottom, the sky blue color, is the number that we're trying to chase. You'll notice that in 21-22, we had a very significant gap, and we are starting to close that gap. If you look at the gaps between, you'll notice that that achievement number is also going up. You'll see that we have had about an 8.6 English language arts gap in 21-22, and that's down to about 6.6 now. And if we click one more time, David. Some other areas of continued growth. We want to continue to increase that graduation rate, get it as close to 100% as possible. We know what our metrics look like for next year. Graduation and attendance are a little goofy. They're lagged by a year. And I can tell you that we will exceed the state average for graduation next year on next November's report card. And then we want to also close that gap on chronic absenteeism between our school district and the state of Wisconsin. So we'll continue those efforts. In fact, 2 of the individuals that are on our attendance team will be presenting on a statewide conference in a couple of days because the growth that we have made has caught the eye of OSSA, which is the Wisconsin Administrators Network. So they were asked to come and present down in Lake Geneva in a few weeks. So, any questions?
Being the newest one to town, thank you. I learned a lot by all this. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. It's nice to see this. As you promised last year at this time, around this time, that did go up. So yeah, they did. Darla, did you have something?
Yeah, I do have a question. I know that when people from outside of the area, let's say that they use Mr. Google and they Google Two Rivers, and I think a lot of the information that kind of pops up, there's a report that's based on the census taking, and it shows Two Rivers as really low. And I'm wondering, as you're improving, how can you put it out there so when somebody Googles Two Rivers that we can show the improvement? Because, and the reason I ask is, number one, the kids, but number two is that if somebody is looking to move here and they want to check out the school system and they see something like that, that can carry a lot of weight. So there's a lot of reasons it would be nice to get good information.
Sometimes it's interesting how conversations occur. We were just at the library this morning presenting, and I talked to a gentleman who's in real estate, and we talked a little bit about those metrics that you see online. My wife goes on Zillow a lot, you know, and you search an area, and then on the bottom of Zillow, it tells you your rating for your school. And what I learned this morning is that oftentimes those metrics are dated. You know, what I also learned this morning from this gentleman is that a simple call to their data procurement individuals will help to change those metrics. So I spent some time with him today learning how to do that. I'll do that a little bit later on this week. Homes.com and Zillow, he said, are the two big fish to go and get. And that'll help to change some of those. So.
Did you mention what our rating is right now? If you did, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, our rating as far as the state of Wisconsin is concerned is meets expectations. There is a 5-star rating, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and we're a 3-star in the middle. I talked about our high school. Our high school is a 4-star, so that exceeds expectations. It's a huge change. The first year that I was here, I believe it was the first year, it was fails to meet expectations. So we were 1-star and they're up to 4 now. That group and team have done everybody's done a tremendous amount of work. So.
Else?
Kyle, could you explain to the listening population here ways that people can help the school system volunteer reading programs and other things that we should participate in?
Certainly, Mark. We've ventured into a really great partnership with a lot of the folks from the community in bringing in volunteers to specifically our elementary schools. We first started it to read to students, and the volunteer will partner with a classroom teacher. They'll work around the classroom teacher's schedule, and then that volunteer will come in and identify select students that the teacher works with. And then that partner, that volunteer, will read with those students. Well, it started to branch out now even more. I was doing a classroom observation the other day, and one of these volunteers had extra time in her day, so she stuck around, and now she's doing math fluency facts with those students in the back of the classroom. Just a little extra addition of some math for the students actually for all students that were in that class. She was pulling them when she had the availability. That opportunity was set up by Diane and Kim Graves, and they worked in conjunction to identify those volunteers, and there's still more opportunities to volunteer. So if anybody's interested, reaching out to Diane Johnson or to central office to get placed with one of those classrooms, that would be a wonderful way. The more adults we can get in our building, helping, supporting, and loving up kids, the better. And I think it's been a great opportunity so far.
We have 15 classrooms that have volunteers.
We ensure that we do background checks on the folks that are coming in. Actually, my mom is one of the people that comes in. She doesn't read to kids. She actually, we have a really stringent, really challenging, but super robust mathematics curriculum that's brand new this year for our elementary schools. There's a lot of prep. There's a lot of things to cut out. There's a lot of manipulatives. Kids are constantly moving and doing things with materials, and there's a lot that the teachers would need to do. My mom, shout out to my mom if you're watching in Reedsville right now. She comes in on Tuesdays to help out at McGee with Chad and do a lot of that work. So, you know, there's other opportunities too if maybe reading in the classroom is not the fit. I would say reaching out to the school district and saying, hey, I just want to get involved. How can I help out? Thanks for the question, Mark.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Bonnie?
I noticed you have, and because I didn't have time to look it over real clearly, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but you had a percentage for English and arts and then math. How come no science?
So Bonnie, I'm gonna say I'm a major in chemistry and physics. I was a science teacher for 13 years. So every year when I look at this report card, kind of breaks my heart a little bit, right? Because it's only math and ELA, right? And I did a lot of chemistry and physics teaching in my day. But at the foundational level of education, the two most important things are literacy and numeracy. And if we can build the capacity in literacy and numeracy, the other core areas, which are social studies and science, those will be robust. That's what the data would trend and track and show. In my experience as an educator, and I was a high school teacher, if you were to give me a freshman in high school who maybe hadn't seen a lot of science in the past, maybe had an interest in it, but hadn't seen a lot of science, but that student was an excellent reader, an excellent writer, a great communicator, and a good mathematician, I know they'd be a good scientist, right? So what the report card is looking for is it's looking for these very specific things, specifically absenteeism, mathematics, literacy, and graduation rate that they see as being the most important things for students to be able to go on to that next level. So that's why.
Excuse me. On the charts, it said adjusted score or whatever.
Yeah, the
that
standards,
one
your first charts.
Is that going to stay or will that change again?
Well, the only thing permanent in life, death and taxes, and definitely not the Wisconsin State Report Card. There's variability often, and there has been in my 7 years of really looking into the report card itself. The biggest reason, Doug, for the recent change is that the big test that is weighted most on this report card, which is called the Forward exam, it's taken primarily by our 3rd grade through 8th grade students. That big test changed 2 years ago. And the data, the metrics, the way that test is actually assessed was changed first, and the report cards lagged behind that. And so this was an understanding of saying, oh, well, if we keep the metrics, the standards on the report card the same, then all these schools are really going to shoot up. And that'd be an unfair comparison. And so that's why they took the standard for the report card itself and they adjusted that so they didn't see this inaccurate inflation of grades and scores throughout the state. How long will it stay that way? I think your guess is as good as mine, but I would say probably at least for the next 3 or 4 years.
It would make it easier for districts.
Right.
Any other questions? If not, thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cal.
Our next guest.
Moving on, we're gonna get Director Metzen in front of the city council at least one more time before he rides off into the sunset. Joe, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm happy to present the 2026 Manitowoc Tours Visitor Guide. Some things to note of this year's guide. First of all, as in past years, we partner with Visit Manitowoc on this publication. Work starts at the beginning of August, and we're working on it diligently all the way up until about the middle of December when we send it off to print. It was well received last year, to the point that we ran out of visitor guides in large part towards the end of November. That was with 20,000 visitor guides printed. So in 2026, we've upped the number to 25,000 visitor guides that we'll have available throughout the community, across the state, and throughout the region. Last year, just in my office alone, we had people reach out and ask for requests for visitor packets, finding out more information about our community from more than 30 states across the country. If you look at what Courtney and her staff team did with Visit Manitowoc, my guess is we probably did hit all 50 states, and then obviously a number of countries. So very well received. The guide is available in print form and in digital form as well. In digital form, you can find it on exploretrivers.com. I do track website traffic when it comes to what pages in all of the cities website that where people are going to. The visitor guide typically finishes in the top 10 on an annual basis in one of the pages that people are visiting most frequently. I'm happy to report in conjunction with that, that in 2025, the community calendar finished number 2. And then the landing page for Explore Trivers finished number 3 behind the general landing page for the city. So we're making a lot of progress when it comes to getting our message out, advocating for our community, having Trivers being recognized beyond our local community of a great destination that people want to find out more information about. And that's either in print through the visitor guide, through our digital resources that we put out there, social media, our website, and other avenues that we pursue. But I think we're moving in the right direction. And once again, I want to emphasize the fact that we do partner with Visit Manitowoc. That staff team does an exceptional job. And one of the things that I feel most heartened about when you look at this particular visitor guide, and I felt like we made a big step in the right direction last year with it. When you look at it, I hope that all of you feel like it's an equal representation between the two communities, and that it's really a broad snapshot and a big celebration of all that we have to offer here on the Lakeshore. And one community doesn't feel, overshadowing the other community, that it really is truly a partnership, and we're going to be more successful by doing that together. Any questions?
No question, but this is a beautiful, beautiful piece. Thank you for being part of that.
I was looking at the pictures of the food before and I was like, oh, I want to go there. Oh, I've been there. It looks so good. It's so professionally done. It looks amazing.
Yeah, and it's a nice combination when you look at the photos. I would say probably about 2/3 of our photos are out in the field photos. They're not scripted, they're not staged. It's really what we're experiencing day in and day out here, for us that live here on the Lakeshore. The other third are some staged and some things that we want to make sure we're shining the best spotlight on it we can. But it's a really nice mix, and it's not uncommon on any given day. And I know you guys follow Explore Trivers on our Facebook page and on our Flickr account too. Man, it's not hard for me to go out with the camera almost any given day and find some really neat things that spotlight our community and make us feel proud about where we live.
Awesome.
Well, I believe a large portion is subsidized too by advertising dollars that are collected from people who are advertising in the visitors. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mark, really good question. So I do want to point out that the visitor guide is completely covered, including some additional staff cost by those folks that advertise in the guide. So there's no additional tax dollars, room tax dollars, or any other type of revenue other than sheer advertising that supports this guide and the delivery of that. And I'm very proud of the fact that as you look at this guide, we had a lot more Two Rivers businesses step forward this year and take advantage of advertising in the guide. You'll note that when you first open the guide, the main color photo that's on the inside or advertisement is cobblestone. And then on the back end, the last thing that you look at when you finish the guide is a full page color spread that Schrader's Department Store and those smaller stores that occupy that particular space put together as well. So Two Rivers is really well represented in the guide and throughout the guide.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Tourism is not everything, and it's not the most important thing that we do, but it's a very important thing that we do. Gonna miss having you around here in a few months. And I just wanted to say, even though it's not the most important thing, and we're never gonna be Door County, nor do we want to be, it's a growing part of the local economy. So it's good that we're leaning into it. And thanks for growing that part of the economy, Joe.
Happy to do so. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right, on to number 6, input from the public. If you wish to address the council about something that is on the agenda or perhaps a future agenda item, please step up to the podium on your left. Please be aware that you will have 3 minutes to address the council. The council may ask questions of you about the topic, but cannot discuss issues raised or make any decisions since the topic is not a posted agenda item. Other issues raised may be referred to the city manager or city staff for research and possible future action. Input from the public.
Good evening, council members. Kathy Dalkey, 3727 Adams Street, and I lost rock, paper, scissors, so I'm going first here. So I wanted to comment on 2 items that are up for discussion today, if I could. The first is in your general discussion items, A, the Neshota Beach Concession Stand Improvement. I had the opportunity to participate in the advisory rec board meeting on the 14th. And during that conversation, the subject of a survey came up. And at the time, there was a very rough draft of a survey. The members of the group were very considerate in allowing folks who were observing, et cetera, to provide input and feedback. And I just wanted to share with the group that I did raise the question around the contents of the survey. This is something that I do on a 6-month basis for my organization, and made some suggestions that there'd be more quantitative and qualitative data in the survey in order to give it some more validity and some gravitas and allow the comments to come back to guide the council. So I did want to share with that. I did send a redraft survey copy to Messrs. Wachowski, Steckmasser, and Mathis today for consideration, and hopefully that comes up in discussion. Having qualitative information around who's taking the survey, demographics, are they residents or not, age, et cetera, can help understand what's going behind the comments. Having more clarity with the questions, so there's no guesswork on behalf of the survey participant, is also very helpful, since there is a lot of confusion around the funding methodology for it. I suggested plain language be put in that survey as well, and allowing some comment space for qualitative information. So utilizing a good survey tool, getting it out to as many participants, understanding the audience, and having a balance of quantitative and qualitative data should help drive the conversation, as you've referenced in the agenda tonight. So I just wanted to share that with the council at large. The second comment, if I still have time, is item B, partnership with Lakeshore Community Foundation for community fundraising efforts. This is a follow-on to the discussions that have been happening November, December, rather contentious conversation about the Perpetual Flower Fund. And I just wanted to clarify something for the council. I did attend a meeting in November for the budget, and Mr. Wachowski was in attendance, Mr. Bittner was in attendance, as well as a city manager, and the talk was about how should we fund, et cetera. There was still open discussion with regard to how the city would approach honoring their commitment to the Perpetual Flower Fund. And a comment that I made was taken out of context and then quoted back in subsequent council meetings, and I just wanted to set the record straight. During that conversation, I said, should the group decide to establish its own, the citizens, 501c3, that I would assist them in that effort and assist in fundraising efforts. Since then, my name has been bandied about as the sole community organizer of fundraising, and I just wanted to set the record straight. I'm happy to help where I can, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chantal Hoffman. I live at 2710 School Street in Two Rivers here. I came up because I met with Dean and Marilee Hervela, and we talk a lot about the perpetual flowers. And we've discussed some things throughout the months. And, you know, Christmas was a very busy time. And we had, at first we were thinking, well, you know, maybe we would like to, the people who bought them flowers to have them flowers. And we think the city should keep their obligation. It is not fair to ask citizens to raise money for things that were already paid for but were taken. And we feel that it is the city's job to honor that obligation. Even if you don't want to, it's like, when you think about it, if you were saving the citizens money on their taxes, when you think about the $6,000 and how many houses there are in Two Rivers, that isn't saving the citizens any money. It comes to like maybe $1 a household, it saves them. And that money, it's not like anybody's taxes are going down a whole whopping $1 next year for those flowers. They're not. The money is just being chosen to be used somewhere else. And those people that paid into that fund, they were promised something when they paid into it. And I believe the city should honor that obligation. Those people deserve that, and they are not here to defend themselves. And there was one other thing I wanted to touch on. The last time I was here, I had to leave, and somebody said that, oh, there's a complaint that flowers are dying at the cemetery. I don't know who made that complaint. I go to the cemeteries all the time. I go to the cemeteries. I visit my ancestors' grave. I live 2 blocks from the Pioneer Cemetery. I go there all the time. I walk around the cemetery. I go to the newer cemetery. I have never seen dead flowers. If I did, I would water them. I walk around. I even water flowers around my grandparents' graves, just because I have extra water. I would never think, oh my God, those flowers are dead. That looks horrible. I would think, oh my God, what happened to that person that they couldn't maintain those flowers anymore? I will water them. So I don't think that's a really good excuse not to plant flowers for people who paid for them. You wouldn't do this to your grandma. You wouldn't take money from your grandma, promise to invest it, and then when the money makes money, spend it on remodeling your house, and then not buy the flowers for your grandma. You wouldn't do that to them, so I don't expect you to do it to other people's grandmas just because they're not here to say, hey, I paid for that, and Dean and Marilee and I and Catherine, we discussed it. I feel like there's a lot of fundraiser fatigue in the area. I mean, the taxes are high, utilities are high, and people are paying so much already. I really feel it would be wrong to make them raise money for something that already should have the money there. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, we'll go to number 7, council communications, letters and other communications from residents. Anyone have anything?
Yeah, I was talking to someone and there is a problem around Neshota Beach with people parking on other people's lawns and things like that. They wouldn't even mind the parking by their place if the person who was parking didn't leave their garbage and things like that. I don't know, it's just worth thinking about.
Anyone else? Okay, other than that, we'll go to number 8, council reports on boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything? Yes.
I
Shannon.
was at the library board meeting last Tuesday and they announced a change for the director. Jeff Dawson is retiring and Terry Ale will be the new person taking over that position. And the EAB had Titus, I can't say his last name properly, so I'm just not going to. We had Titus come and speak about the invasive species that affect our lakes and what we can do about them and how we can learn to love them, the ones that we can. And we had 18 people show up for that. So it was a pretty good turnout for an EAB winter session.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Go
ahead.
Main Street, there is an interest in looking into the bid and expanding it, or at least changing it somewhat. That's very much in the early stages. Excuse me. The Violet Inn and Hook Lanes and Games have completed their projects in order to receive their facade grant. Risses Cafe and Chop Shop are being worked on, and who puts all these names together? City Central started work on something they were working on, but the Main Street program itself looks financially healthy for 2026. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Just at the advisory rec board meeting we had last Wednesday, Good turnout. We had about 7 or 8 people attend the meeting. There was discussion, like Ms. Dalkey said, about the survey and other comments about the concession stand and some other programs that are going on. There was no formal vote about the concession stand at the advisory rec board meeting, but there was consensus that the members of the committee, which are majority or all citizens, except for myself, that they do like the current way that Mike has laid out for the concession stand. So that's a, a positive thing that we are kind of heading in the right direction. And that's it for that. On to number 9, consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes. We have the city council regular meeting from January 5th, 2026. Under B, we have minutes of meetings. We have Public Works Committee from December 3rd, 2025. Library Board, December 9th, 2025. Committee on Aging from January 5th, 2026. Plan Commission from January 12th, 2026. Explore Two Rivers Board of Directors from January 13th, 2026. Advisory Recreation Board minutes from January 14th, 2026. Under C, we have finance reports for October and November of 2025. We have 4 of those. We have debt services, general fund, Leicester Library, and utilities report. Under D, we have a summary of verified bills for December 2025 of $3,428,031.48. Under E, we have applications and petitions. We have a temporary Class B beer license for Friends of the Two Rivers Senior Center for a winter hangout on January 30th, 2026 at Washington Park, 2900 Adams Street. I'm going to skip over F for now because I think that needs to be a formal motion and a roll call vote for that resolution. So everything else is a recommended action for the rest of the consent agenda will be a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'm just asking, are you pulling F? Because I was going to issue.
Yes, I'm going to pull F
Okay.
and that'll be the first thing under
Okay.
10. Okay, looking for a motion then. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any council discussion? See none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Okay, going back to F, which will be a formal item, I guess you could say. This is a resolution authorizing letter of support for state individual assistance program. This resolution supports a bipartisan state legislative proposal to create a new disaster recovery grant program, setting aside $30 million to assist individuals and businesses impacted by natural disasters when federal aid is unavailable. If enacted into law, this program would be administered by the Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs and provide faster, more accessible relief following a governor-declared state of emergency. Anything else?
So yeah, a little more background on this one. We were approached by Manitowoc County and Vernon County Emergency Management Agencies regarding this resolution. This is being shared across the state of Wisconsin. This is supporting bipartisan legislation. It's, like you said, set aside $30 million for those impacted by natural disasters, like the big flooding that hit southeast Wisconsin in August of last year after storms dropped a foot of rain in some places. In August 2025, during those floods, FEMA denied a lot of the request or Wisconsin's request for federal public assistance. The damage didn't meet the threshold needed for federal funding. So that request was turned down, leaving counties and municipalities to cover their own costs. If approved in Madison, this bipartisan resolution would direct the Department of Military Affairs to create a new grant program made available whenever the governor declares a state of emergency. It's intended to fill a long-standing gap in Wisconsin by providing faster, more accessible aid when federal assistance is not available. And the resolution on the agenda tonight is largely symbolic, but it would signal support for this effort to help ensure Wisconsin communities of all sizes have access to some type of disaster aid without relying totally on federal support. So that's the background I have on this item.
Yep, thank you. Any questions?
I have some comments. I looked into this and FEMA did help private people. They just didn't help public. And I think it was because the money was not, they have caps and so on, but they gave $123 million to private people. one of the goals, of course, is to address this void, and apparently Wisconsin never had this fund before, anything like it. But I also looked into it about if somebody gets state aid and then later FEMA gives them aid, they have to pay that state aid back. This is mostly for businesses. But the individuals, and like he said, the co-sponsors are from Germantown, Whitewater, Beloit, and so on, because that's where they had such heavy damage in August. That's it.
Giovanni? Any other questions? Yes,
Are
Doug.
we sharing this with our representatives or just our local representatives or all state?
I would assume all state. But go back to Manitowoc County first and then back to state from there. Other questions? We're looking for.
I guess I would just add this one more thing. I mean, they approached us asking if we wanted to. I said, I don't know. It's up to council to decide whether or not they want to support such a thing. But it is supported by the Wisconsin Restaurant Association and fellow municipalities in Manitowoc County, Vernon County, Rock, Brown, Washington, and Winnebago counties. At this level, it's just largely symbolic. So it's up to council if you want to.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as planned, or make a motion to approve the F addition to the formal items.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Do we have a second? Thank you, Shannon. Any council discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmasser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky, Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for that. On to A, ordinance adopting a property assessment policy for the city of Two Rivers and adding chapters 2-7-16 to the city code. This ordinance establishes a formal property assessment policy for the city, adding a new section to the code that emphasizes regular, fair, and transparent property value assessments consistent with state law and best practices. This policy outlines assessment frequency, assessor selection standards, performance monitoring, and appeal protections to improve accuracy, equity, and public confidence in the property assessment process. Anything else?
One of the top three things I've heard since I've started as city manager here is people are upset, confused, and frustrated by the property revaluation process that happened in 2024. So even now I get like one call a week about this frustration. This agenda item tonight is an attempt to show the community we listen, we hear you, and here's what we're going to do in the future to make it better. Overall, this policy presented tonight is intended to promote fair, accurate assessments and prevent large valuation swings that shook our residents a couple years ago, or last year, really. So as you know, Two Rivers had not done a full reassessment in nearly 20 years, so property values were based on old data. And because it had been so long, many property values jumped a lot when that reassessment occurred in 2024. This caused shock to many in the community, impacting monthly budgets and causing a lot of tough financial decisions. So 2 points I want to make very clear here. One, this type of shock to the community is something we want to avoid in the future to the best of our ability, and hopefully be more regular and consistent when this has to happen. 2, this type of huge increase in property values is not a phenomenon that is unique to Two Rivers or Manitowoc County. Property values have been skyrocketing across the United States for quite some time. We have a housing shortage, and we're all feeling it. All homeowners are feeling that. So this item in front of council tonight is an attempt to establish a clear, predictable property assessment policy by encouraging market-based value updates at least once every 3 to 4 years. This policy would also strengthen accountability and hopefully improve trust, as you mentioned, by requiring regular competitive bidding so we don't use the same assessment company for a long time without at least inviting some competition. I put 4 FAQs together on the slide. Dave, if you can go through these. The first one, do property revaluations raise taxes? No, they don't. A revaluation does not increase the total amount of taxes collected by the city. Taxes are set by the tax levy, not by property assessments. So revaluation only changes how the tax burden is distributed among property owners based on market values. Question number two that we get a lot is, if my assessment goes up, does the city get more money? No, the city collects the total amount of the levy regardless of how the assessments play out. If everyone's value went up equally, tax bills would stay largely the same. In 2024, some properties went up more than others because their market value increased faster than average. The third question we hear is, why are you doing this? Or is this punishment for homeowners? No, it's not meant to be punishment. Regular, consistent revaluations are about accuracy and equity. It's not about penalizing anybody or raising any added revenue. Two similar homes should pay similar taxes. And when assessments are out of date, that fairness starts to break down. Number four, what is the city of Two Rivers doing differently moving forward? Trying to take steps meant to prevent a repeat of the frustration seen in 24 and 25 by conducting more regular assessment updates, avoiding large value shocks, and then requiring competitive proposals for competition. So that is what this is intended to do. I'll give it back to you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, a question,
Go ahead, Mark.
maybe a comment too. Kyle, I'm not opposed to this ordinance at all. I do want to clarify, previously with the recent reassessment, we were not in any violation of any state laws. We were just following the previous mandated requirements for reassessment. Is that correct?
That is correct. You were not in violation of any state laws. Nope. And the ratio, the 10%, or really 20% ratio, because it goes from 90% to 110%, you were in that ratio for a long time. But that's a minimum for legal compliance.
And this new ordinance changes that. I understand that. But I just want to stress we weren't in any violation at that time.
Correct.
That's correct, Mark. There's no violation. This just creates higher standards for the city that create more consistency over what's required by statute. So the level for compliance is relatively low, which is where you can get the areas where municipalities will be in compliance but still see in the compliance year that there's large jumps, and that's what this tries to avoid. And then the other part of my question is the assessor selection standards. How are we going to establish those standards, and what benchmarks are we going to use?
That's a good question. Way to think ahead. I think we can, if this policy gets passed, it doesn't handcuff us to anything, and we still have a lot of flexibility to decide what we want to do. If we decide we want to do revaluations more frequently, and we want to make sure we shop around and invite competition for different assessors, and that'll result in an RFP process, and we'll answer that question when we put the RFP together. But we would blast that out there and invite a lot of competition, and hopefully we get a lot of interest, and I guess we would just go from there.
There was a lot of concern in the community about that. That's the qualifications, and if they were right. So that's a big thing to deep dive into. Yeah, and all this note there, when we talk about an RFP process, for more professional services, there's no requirement to take the lowest bidder in any sense. The state's going to do a thorough search, conduct, a review or interviews, review some other municipalities and do a thorough search. So the thing is not just limited to the cheapest option, but we can try to find the most qualified one as well. Okay, thank you.
For the record, we've been using accurate appraisals, not very long, just since January of 2023. So we don't have a very long relationship with them.
What would be the frequency of these assessments? Because it just says regular, fair, and transparent property values. What is what is the frequency? that we're looking to have
Every
these?
3 to 4 years. And this doesn't tie our hands to it. We're not painting ourselves into a corner. So we're all together, fully transparent. Frequency of assessment, the exact words. In addition to the statutory minimum stating properties shall be assessed at full market value, which often results in revaluations on 5-year cycles, the city of Two Rivers will strive to conduct. This is just a council passing a policy encouraging us to strive to conduct regular value assessment updates every 3 to 4 years. Revaluing properties more frequently is widely considered a municipal best practice, not because it raises more taxes, but because it improves fairness, accuracy, and public confidence. So every 3 to 4 years, we would strive to we would still have humans in the room to look at each other and make decisions and talk about does it make sense to or not. But it would encourage us to look at that more frequently and bring it up more frequently.
And I'm sure it covers both residential and commercial, right?
All property classes.
Yes. Bonnie, you have something?
On E, it doesn't seem like the city council has too much say in this. I don't like the way E is written. Racial compliance with the assessor and finance department. Where's the city council? I don't see it. I think it should be in there, if not at least the finance committee should also be part of this.
I can get behind that.
Right, that's an amendment to the ordinance.
May I suggest you make a motion to include that verbiage in a motion?
Yes.
Adam, go ahead.
I don't know that I really like this a whole lot. I don't like our hands being tied every 3 to 4 years. I mean, the market could stay stagnant where values, and that happened for quite a few years. And to spend $40,000 to $60,000 on a reassessment, I don't know that makes sense if it's not going to change a whole lot in some of those years. I just don't like us being handcuffed to this.
I agree. I didn't want us to be handcuffed in any way. This doesn't handcuff us. It doesn't say we have to. It encourages us to look at it more frequently and harder every 3 to 4 years. Maybe have a discussion at it at council level. But yeah, we don't want to spend $60,000 to $70,000 on doing this if the ratio is looking good.
And why do we have C in there like that?
Well, that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the not going 17, 18, 19 years without giving this a hard look. So the state ratio of 90 to 110%, that's just a minimum standard. It's not a good measure of fairness between properties. So staying within that ratio does not mean individual properties are accurate or equitable. That ratio, it means the city as a whole is roughly.
I'm talking C where it says every 3 to 4 years, we're gonna update this.
Yep. It doesn't say we have to. It says we will strive to conduct regular value assessment updates every 3 to 4 years. Doesn't mean we have to. It would still be a council discussion and a review of the ratio numbers and personal and finance committee. Yeah, it doesn't, nothing in the city, I think.
I don't know what's.
Maybe instead of strive, it's we'll review or something instead of evaluate or review or something.
Okay.
Bonnie, you have something else?
Well, I was just curious about something about enforcement of violations. What kind of violations do you have considering assessments?
I reads, in the event the city clerk is informed of violations of the section or statutes and administrative code provisions incorporated herein, the city clerk shall refer the alleged violations to the state of Wisconsin DOR. We have nothing in particular for that. That's just boilerplate legal language. Sean, that's got your handiwork on it, I think.
I mean, there are occasions where there's violations. I've heard no representative a town in litigation regarding this. It's not common, but it does happen. A lot of times you see it, for example, in manufacturing, where we're not talking about a clear value based on the land. We're talking about property taxes being based on a portion of the productivity of the land. We're talking about manufacturing facilities that are making so many items, and then DOR taxes them not based on the land, but on the production. And if you falsify numbers there, actions like that have been cases where we've been involved in litigation.
Anything else?
Mr. President, yes, I've got.
Go ahead, Mark.
Further deep dive Adam's comment about the cost tied in every 3 or 4 years. Real cost will be, if we review it every 3 or 4 years, the real cost is really when we acquire the accessory, do an overall assessment of all properties in this city. And if we just review it every 3 or 4 years and don't go that far, it's still not that big a cost. Is that correct?
Right, because they'd be looked at either by the finance committee or personnel and finance committee or city council or something. So we would just look at it and say, yeah, we should, or no, we shouldn't. And then from that point on, if we said, yes, we should, then that's when it would start costing more or costing money.
Yeah, this is just an attempt to take, again, one of the things I've heard more than probably anything else. Boil it down to a piece of paper of how we're gonna do it different moving forward as a general policy guideline, parameters, not painted in the corner or anything. Saying we hear, we listen, and this is what we're gonna do different moving forward. The other thing I wanted to share is this is really interesting. From 2003 until 2020, the value of Two Rivers stayed relatively steady. It was about $530 million for all property value from 03 until 2020. From 2020 to 2025, it doubled almost. And now it's at $1 billion, right? So just interesting context. Doubled in 4 or 5 years.
Any other questions? So we do have 2 changes. I don't know if we want to make a motion to accept those or with those changes or table it, have them make the changes and then come back.
I kind of wish we would table it just because, first of all, I didn't have time to look up I don't know if there's another ordinance for this, but this is presented as an ordinance to, I don't see, add chapter 2716 to the city code. And sometimes it's hard to find those city codes. I mean, sometimes when I look for them, I don't know. I would prefer to table it.
Like to make that motion?
Yes.
Okay. Bonnie makes a motion to
Sorry.
table it. Do we have a second? Thank you, Darla. Roll call vote. Yep.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Stecklisser.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky. Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brand. Motion carries.
Okay, it is tabled to a future city council meeting.
And just so I make sure I got the right
Yes.
language tweaks, we're gonna strike the word strive and replace it with something less like review.
Reviewing.
That's fine.
everything up.
And then in section E, we're gonna put in there personal and finance committee. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay. On to B, resolution declaring official. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Would it be helpful to go over just, I last year presented a continuing legal education for lawyers for property taxes. I'd be happy to, if we wanted to, at either this month's or next month's work session, I could give that same presentation and kind of go over how property taxes work so we can better evaluate if this is something the council wants to do.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. There's some head shaking up here.
Just reach out to me and let me know, and then I can come up either this month or next month.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that. Now on to B, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing 2026 capital projects. This resolution formally declares the city of Two Rivers' intent to reimburse eligible 2026 capital project and equipment expenditures with proceeds from future tax exempt general obligation borrowing in an amount not to exceed $2,563,818. A portion of this, $350,000, will be repaid from the electric utility, not the debt service fund. Adoption of this resolution preserves the city's ability to issue debt later in 2026 and reimburse costs already incurred. This resolution is consistent with the city's recently reaffirmed debt cap policy, which includes a self-imposed debt cap of less than 3% of equalized property value and at least 50% of debt being retired within 10 years. Currently, more than 98% of city general obligation debt is required within 10 years.
That should say repaid, I'm sorry.
Repaid within 10 years, that's, yeah. Anything else to add?
This is routine, legally required financing step you guys go through every year, each year. It allows the city to reimburse itself for capital costs after bonds are issued later. You're not issuing bonds now. On the screen tonight, you'll see the capital projects we intend to borrow for this year, complete with the dollar amounts for each item. Personnel and Finance Committee is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, February 10th, to review this year's capital financing plan in more detail. This resolution tonight just preserves the city's ability to repay itself for whatever the 2026 capital projects are, and those are on your screen. Approval of this tonight does not authorize new projects or additional spending. Here's some context. For a long time, many, many years, like 10 plus years, the city borrowed between 2 million and 2.2 million in capital projects borrowing for community investment. The plan is that we do this again this year. In 2025, we repaid the 2.3 million. In 2026, another 2.3 million is being repaid. So we're staying at the same capital project funding level as we have for at least a decade. So it's pretty typical and not anything that will break the bank. If you could jump to the last slide, please. This kind of recaps the last 3 years of borrowing. So there's two ways to look at the numbers. One is with the utility or with the utility figure removed from it, right? What you're looking at has it all clumped together. So your utility plus the general debt service issuance is all together on these bars. So after a higher borrowing year in 2024, the city reduced capital borrowing by more than 25% in 25, and we're holding that essentially flat in 2026 with less than a 1% increase year over year.
Any questions? Yes, Bonnie.
Yeah, what does that actually mean? Adoption of this resolution preserves the city's ability to issue debt later in 2026. So do you mean that you're freeing yourself up to borrow even more?
No, this is IRS loopholes. This is the IRS requirement. Federal tax law requires us to declare an intent to borrow. That's what this is, an intent to borrow. So IRS requires we declare an intent to borrow in advance if we plan to reimburse capital expenses, which we do with future bond proceeds. So this is a federal IRS step that you guys approve every year.
Any other questions? If not, we're looking for a motion.
Make a motion to adopt, waive the reading, adopt the resolution.
Thank you, Bill. Second by,
I'll second it, Scott.
thank you, Mark. Any council discussion? Yes, Adam.
I will not vote in favor of this. This is too high of borrowing, especially after we just raised taxes for the general fund this year. This is just going to be another thing that's going to burden the taxpayers. It'd have been nice to see this come down to 2 million, and I know I had those discussions during Personnel and Finance Committee meetings of wanting to see this get down to 2 million, so we don't further burden the taxpayer.
Thank you for
As
that.
this will do.
Anyone else? Yeah, Bonnie.
Yeah. I don't really understand some of this stuff either. It's like we're constantly making promises to pay stuff back. I guess that I'm just not used to it. We've really been good about paying back on our debts, but then we were so careful to borrow too. And I'm just so conservative with money.
Gotcha.
I just don't.
Okay. Anyone else?
In 2025,
Yeah, a federal requirement we've done every year on this time of year on capital funds.
Correct. Yes. Adam and Bonnie's concern is that it's 2.5, and Adam said he would rather have it around 2-ish. 2, not 2-ish, 2.
if you could go back one slide, please, to the whole listing of everything. In 2025, we repaid $2.3 million. In 2026, we are repaying another $2.3 million.
Last year, we didn't increase our property taxes, and I think that's where my struggle is we did an increase to the general fund this year. And now we're gonna do an increase to the debt as well. And I think that's where my concern comes in.
Yeah, it's currently at less than a 1% increase year over year. I hear your concern. It's hard to go less than a 1% increase year over year. But that's the meat and potatoes in front of you right there. If anybody wants to.
We need to take care of our infrastructure each year.
Anyone else? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Donnie Shimalunas,
No.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
No.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc, Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Motion carries.
Thank you all for that. On to 11, city council discussion items. We have 2 of them tonight. The first one is in the Neshota Beach Concession Stand Improvement Public Feedback Survey. The city is exploring practical, cost-conscious improvements to the Neshota Beach concession area with a focus on ADA accessibility, functionality, and enhancing the overall beach experience for residents and visitors. To support meaningful residential engagement, the city council will discuss launching a community-wide public opinion poll to gather input from as many residents as possible.
Lots of opinions on this project. That's great. We want to keep leaning into this public engagement. We want to keep getting residents involved before decisions are made. So to this point, we want to keep doing resident surveys. We want to keep doing quick public opinion polls. And survey instruments are never perfect. This is an opportunity for the city council to get on the same page with the actual survey instrument, making sure we're asking the right questions, making sure we're presenting the right information in a way that is not slanted, not biased, but presented in a factual and neutral way. Over the last few weeks, the survey instrument has been shared with the council for feedback. Some edits have been made, and the survey draft is now on the dais tonight in front of you for final review. If the council gives a green light to proceed, we'll start getting this out as soon as tomorrow. We'll push this out through the March hard copy newsletters, and we'll have thousands of people chime in through January and February. So that is in front of you to review and make any suggested changes.
We're on E, aren't we?
Yeah, you have an A, correct.
Oh.
Any questions, comments about the survey?
Groundbreaking, you've all seen it before. It's in front of you, just so you can all see it at the same time, in the same room, in the same place.
I thought some of the comments that Catherine Dulkey had would have been good to put on the survey. Like how familiar you are with the project.
I thought that was on there.
It's on there, it's question number 2.
Oh, yep, you're right. I had that flipped underneath my Robert's Rules of Order.
I would like to see this tabled at this time because I would like to have ample time to read this and figure, I like her comments too, as, because right now it's very familiar, somewhat familiar. I mean, people are going to say, you know, that they don't know how familiar they are with the beach, but we're not going to know why. So I would like this to be more in-depth. So can we talk about it at work session?
Word on timing, just a timing issue. So public education, we've had that FAQ that we put out there for the last 2 weeks that's been circulating. I think it's gotten a lot of good traction. That was kind of our in-depth, you're saying more in-depth, more on this. And this would link to that FAQ. Which people could click to. It could link directly to that, which has got everything in one place. If we delay it anymore, it's probably not going to be valuable data because we need to go out to bid for this project and get you guys the final prices like in March, April. We'd like to have this data in front of you with the final bid numbers. And if we wait much longer, we won't be able to get it out in the March utility bill. That will push into the April utility bill.
No, the facts, the fact sheet is, okay. I like being able to have a link to that. I didn't know if there was too.
Yeah, there's that
So I
intro
think that's
paragraph,
okay.
and then click here for project FAQ,
Okay,
and that links to the thing that we've all seen the last couple of weeks.
gotcha.
So some of the questions that Ms. Delkey added on, or her suggestion that she had, that are not currently on the survey, and I'll just read them off. One of them is, are you currently a resident of the city of Two Rivers? Yes or no? It says, if no, where do you reside? Do you own or rent? How old are you? Is on there. Which option best reflects your general preference for how the city should proceed with the proposed renovations in the Soda Beach concession stand? She had option 1. It just has some more clarifying information. Basically saying retains the existing building, upgrades the kitchen area to bring it to code, upgrades the restroom and changing areas, and adds a sheltered 3 Seasons room. That would be a space for rent. And then she has some information about here about clarifying how it would be paid. Option 2, proceed with minimum. That's pretty much the same, just a little bit more information. And she put in an option 3. I do not have enough information to respond and would like to know more. She also has comment section after every question. After questions 2 and 3. Yes, comments after questions 2 and 3. And that's it. And then just a link to the frequently asked questions.
So that's incorporated.
Yeah, there's just some clarifying wordage on there. Like I said, we got this at like 11:30 today, and I just read it before the meeting. I will forward it to everyone so you have a copy of it as well.
Could we add on there a number 6 to your opinion on this, any added comments, I guess?
Just the open comment
Right.
section. The one thing I picked up on that I don't have on here is, does council want to ask, are you a renter or not?
Yeah.
Or keep that off?
No,
Nope, don't need that.
I don't think that's, you live here, doesn't matter how you live here, you're here. I would like to say
Sure.
something. For the second paragraph, the short survey is intended to gather, so on. I think that should be in bold because no final decisions have been made and city council will not make a final decision on this project until later. I think that needs to be bolded or highlighted or something because so many rumors are going around that we're getting some major complex down there and we haven't made any decisions yet. So I'd just like to see that really highlighted or focused with a highlighter or bold or italics or
Sure, something that points it out.
asterisks, whatever you have. Throw it all at that so people know.
We will highlight that section. We will add something at the end for open-ended comments. And I think that way we have enough time to collect over, January, February. We can get it out in time for the March hard copy newsletter. And we get you stuff by the time we get final project bid information. We'll have accurate data and accurate numbers. Okay, we don't need to vote on this. This isn't a legal
it's all
thing.
discussion only.
This is just,
So if you do have any other thoughts, I will send, I'll do it right now. I had everyone's address to it. I will forward Ms. Delkey's email to all of us. That way you all have it. If something comes up or you think something, we should add something else. When are you gonna do this tomorrow or maybe give it a couple more days? Give us till
let me
Friday.
know tomorrow. Otherwise we'll go live on Wednesday. Does that sound good? Okay.
It is being sent to everyone. And thank you, Ms. Delkey, for your email and comments and participating. And if anyone is watching that was at the advisory rec board meeting, thanks for participating in the conversation too that night. Okay, let's see. Anything else on this one? Oh, nothing else. Okay. On to B, partnership with the Lakeshore Community Foundation for community fundraising efforts. The city is proposing the creation of a dedicated investment accounts with the Lakeshore Community Foundation to support the long-term sustainable funding of perpetual care flowers and the community band. City staff intended to partner with community members to raise funds through established city fundraising and donation systems with the goal of reducing the amount of general fund property taxes supporting these programs. Once raised, the funds would be transferred away from the city into the Lakeshore Community Foundation for professional investment and perpetual support of these programs.
Are you ready to talk yet? I got one intro and then I'll give it to you. 5 words. Outside of city government control. Okay, Mike.
Let's just go back to the budget really quick. So in the 2026 budget, $2,700 was approved for perpetual care flowers. Traditionally, it's been $6,000 is what we need to buy all the flowers. To make up the difference, we received a $3,300 donation to get us to $6,000. And one other smaller donation of like $250 is what we received in donations this year. That'll go towards getting flowers in the ground. The orders are placed. They're moving. Everything's moving forward for 2026. So this still begs the question: how do we fund this in the long term? Do we continue to have funding conversations and talking about this every single year? And so this conversation is to propose one idea on how we could take a long-term approach to funding this these operations. So Lakeshore Community Foundation is not a typical nonprofit. It is a nonprofit, but what they specialize in is helping individuals, organizations, families take money that they want to give and donate to charity, but then they put it in investment accounts so that they can build that the quantity of money they have up to give the charity. They can set all types of stipulations on how those things are given. So if you really care about dogs, your fund could be set up only to give out to projects about dogs. You could have a completely open-ended fund or a discretionary fund where there's review processes and all these different types of things. So the Lakeshore Community Foundation invests a significant amount of money for organizations. It was all created by part of the West Foundation. They work together on their investments. And so this is kind of the investing opportunity. They do not fundraise. They do not fundraise at all. They don't go out and ask for donations and accumulate those donations. That would be on us as the city to take the opportunity to try to raise some funds and then move it over to the Lakeshore Community Foundation so that it can build up interest over time, get returns on those investments, and hopefully someday start giving back a return that could go into the flowers, to taking care of the flowers. So, yeah, we can skip that one. So a few basic facts about the funds is you need to have a minimum of $5,000 to start a fund with the foundation. And from this minimum investment, if you come in under, once you get to 5,000, but you're under 25,000, anything that you make off those investments goes back into principal. So it keeps building and can grow and grow. When it gets to $25,000, then you can start to take withdrawals based on whatever stipulations you have for that fund. And you could actually say, no, I don't even want to take those withdrawals. I want to continue to put them back into the principal to build it up even more, depending on how much money you have available. In terms of Parks and Rec taking the lead on the fundraising aspects, we have a website that we can create a pretty simple fundraising sites and be able to take credit card, check, and cash donations at the front desk if people would want to. And there was traction before the first of the year if there was people suggesting that they would like to donate. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, that money's just going to magically appear, but it may be worth a shot to see if we can get to $5,000 and start putting some money away in a fund that's not the city government. People don't want to trust us because of things that have happened in the past. This is a much more controlled opportunity with the Lakeshore Community Foundation to be able to, take advantage, to use the funds how they're intended to be used. Let's go to the next one, please. Other frequently asked questions. Yes, there are some fees for professional management of the funds. Remember, this is a nonprofit organization that is doing this only for charitable causes. So if you go down to your investor down the street, or your credit union, or somebody that's going to help you invest your private funds to make money, make profit, that is not what this is. So this is definitely more affordable than going that type of investment route, because they're a nonprofit and they're doing this for the betterment of the community. Yeah, and so that's the gist of it, essentially, and seeing if there's reactions, questions, thoughts, concerns, how we go this route. Theoretically, we could take city general fund money and put it into that fund. That begs the question we have all along, that we've been trying to figure out how to save money instead of cutting things. If we can at all possible do that, that would be an option. Maybe we seed in some money and then we take donations if it's maybe that acts like a match. Or if you don't do that, that maybe that's a budget year, end of year budget type of question, then we're relying on fundraising and donations. Maybe there's some other type of event, small events, fundraisers, donations going on at the cemetery to help get into the fund. But there will always be this dilemma that next year we need $6,000 to plant flowers. So that ledge will come up again, and we may be doing all this fundraising and we don't get to use it for, if you're at the minimum, you might not be using that for 20 years. If you're thinking it's a 5 to 10% return, it's going to take quite some time to build that. If you're at the minimum of 5,000, to build up that fund to 25,000 where you can start getting returns. And the reason they have that max, that minimum 25,000, is they want you to sustain it well into the future, as long as it can possibly go. I'll stop talking. See if you have questions.
It's a discussion item. Ask your questions or concern.
What happens when we want to get out of the thing, the community, whatever it is, and we decide we don't want to use them anymore, so we'll take our money back?
We can't do that.
Well, okay. I don't like this idea.
Tell me more, Bonnie. Why?
First of all, what?
Tell me why. Tell me more about
Why?
Tell me more about why you dislike the idea. I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, when I read about it, it made it sound like it was going to be community people, just people from the community putting this together. And for some reason, I don't know where I got that this Lakeshore Community Foundation is something that we're going to call it. And this thing of giving your money and you can't control it, this is not just, this is for the city. And the other thing is, I thought we, as a council, voted not to continue the perpetual flowers. Now, that doesn't mean we aren't obligated to the ones who already paid in. The point is, something like perpetual flowers is a sort of expensive thing that is not the most reasonable thing to do with how prices shoot up. But it doesn't mean we should break our promise to these other people. And as far as the community band, I mean, you guys are the ones that kind of cut it, and now you sort of want to bring it back in a roundabout way. Don't touch this stuff anymore.
I will say that it was a city council approved budget with cuts to the community band and the perpetual care.
Yes, but it was also something you wanted. I mean, these cuts that are approved come along from staff. And I'm not even saying, I get it that you want to save money. And you think, well, let's cut here, let's cut there. I mean, I get that. But
if you'd prefer we don't propose cuts, I think we would all be happy to do that.
What we're really trying to do here is we think these are important things. We've heard from the community. You guys have known this for a long time. I've known this much more recently. This is the flowers are a big deal. They're an important thing. The community band is an important thing. We're trying to find ways to fund those, to keep them funded long-term. We're thinking long-term and trying to get it financially sustainable so these kind of programs can continue into the future without reliance on property taxes.
And then we cut the Friday night concerts, but what happens when we don't have enough money for that? We'll be dipping into this fund. Then we'll have to dip in for something else.
We cannot dip into this fund because it's with the Lakeshore Community
Well, you
Foundation.
said you could put money in for whatever you want. I mean, this is not being made very clear then. I thought it said that you can put it for this or that purpose, or you can generally give.
That's just examples. So if a private individual cares about dogs, they can designate that fund only to be used for dogs. If that private individual, that organization has many interests, they can designate it for many interests. It's however we set it up. So if we set up that fund with, this fund is only for perpetual care flowers, that is the only thing it can be used on.
Which would be protecting the money for this important thing from future city councils that might make a decision to take that money and redirect it towards something else, which is what happened in the early 1990s before Buckley, I think. It would be preventing that. It would be tied directly to cemetery flowers.
Go ahead, Adam.
I do like this idea. I think it's gonna be a good thing for us to be able to fundraise this money, and I'm glad Parks and Rec wants to take the lead on trying to fundraise some of that money to put aside and build this into the future, because we know the general fund can't sustain this forever. So the fact that we're taking this, and it may take some time, it may take, like Mike said, 15, 20 years, but it may take less too. It all depends on the fundraised money that comes in. And I think the sooner we can get it off the general fund and can start tapping into this is going to better the general fund, obviously. But in the meantime, until we get this to a point where we need to do it, I do still think it's the city's obligation to pay for those flowers up until this fund can fully fund that by itself. But something has to get done. And the nice thing is it can only be used for this. No one else can touch it. No one else can go in there, tap into it for X, Y, and Z. It is flowers and flowers only. I think it's a smart move on our part to kind of get the city out of it, because not we maybe as a council, but we as a city, because we are all still the city, screwed this up in the 90s when we took the money out, and now we're kind of paying the price.
I would also just differentiate between the community band and the perpetual care flowers. Perpetual care flowers, yeah, very obviously our responsibility. The community band is a little bit different. And so while we may be assisting and facilitating the community band really will need to start taking on the lead for that operations, because we did cut that budget. And so we have some budget, but we are going to start paying them out just like any concert performance. In the past, they've been employees, and we pay them a certain set thing for performances and all these things. So I really envision the community band we will not be paying them as employees this year even. They will be getting paid as a separate entity. So I think maybe we have some obligation to continue the community band because it's so important to the community. It's 100 years old. It's been a part of the rec department for quite some time. So I want to be there to help them. But I think there's much more emphasis on them doing that fundraising and being a part of that process. The perpetual care flowers, I'm not suggesting community members lead that process. I'd love for people to be involved in that process, but that's what Parks and Rec would take the lead on, the fundraising, getting the fund set up and all those different components.
We raised almost $4,000 in 10 days last year without even trying really hard, right?
Anyone else?
And right on the comments already made by both Adam and Mike, we're not going to be able to draw out of this fund anyway until it reaches 25, so we still might have some budget in the next couple of years until it reaches. But unless we get started now, we'll have this budget forever. So I like the idea and I support.
Thank you, Mark. You cut out there, but I caught the support part, so I think we're good.
I would also just remind everybody.
I can't take anything out anyway, so there may be some challenges in the next couple of budget until we get that 25 number. But unless we start now, we'll never have a solution.
Correct.
I also think though, if we get to the 25,000, say we magically, someone says, here's $25,000, we have $25,000 to start. The amount that you're gonna take out of that fund is not gonna be $6,000. Because you'd eat into your
Okay, we're
principal.
making up some staff for that too.
So-
That's why we should start the fund now.
Yeah.
Best time to plant a tree is yesterday.
Anyone else? Consensus is,
We're just looking for a hard no's. If there's any hard no from the council, that's what we would need to hear tonight. Otherwise, we'll just keep having discussions and flesh it out and.
Bonnie,
Go from
like I
there.
said, I want to know more about, you said you didn't like that idea, you wouldn't support it. I would love to have a conversation with you sometime. We'll sit down, we can talk about it. I would love to take you to we could bring in the Lakeshore Community Foundation Executive Director for a work session even at some point, if we really wanted to. They're a very established foundation that does this for many people and quite large funds. I mean, the West Foundation has $160 million endowed to get their returns for doing their granting. So there's a benefit to all these nonprofits of individuals pooling their money together to get the best returns and the best investing they can. And then, yes, they have stipulations, so you can only use it for how the funds are created.
anyone else? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. On to number 12, City Manager's Report.
I want to share a brief update on the former Hamilton property. Last week, we had another conversation with Thermo Fisher Scientific, who owns the property now. They indicated they are supportive of the city initiating a rezoning of that property from industrial to business zoning. This is good news from our perspective. A city-initiated rezoning allows us to look at the property through a long-term planning lens and evaluate how it best fits into the future redevelopment goals without being handcuffed to one specific development. So we're going to move forward with that, and we anticipate bringing the rezoning forward to the Plan Commission in February, and then onto a public hearing at the City Council right after that. On parallel track, we will be moving forward, working closely with our Main Street organization on a public community visioning process to craft something we don't currently have, a shared community vision of what we should build at the Hamilton site. So starting in February, we intend to roll out a multi-pronged approach to talk about development concepts, infrastructure needs, design standards, and many opportunities for engagement and submission of opinions from the public. By the end of May, we hope to bring it all together into something that makes sense and will give us a target of what we want to see built there. This is going to involve direct outreach to adjacent neighborhoods and getting residents involved. At the next City Council work session next week, Monday, January 26th, this is the time we're setting aside to review this community visioning process in more detail. So even if it's cold, please come. We look forward to giving you more next week.
Awesome. Thank you for that. On to number 13 for information only. Next week, we have the City Council work session, which is on Monday, January 26th, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. That is a lot of sixes. Sorry, bad dad joke. Then the next City Council regular meeting is Monday, February 2nd, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. We'll include the following public hearings. Request to rezone from IPF to R3 located at 3204 Lincoln Avenue and parcel number 053-162-301075.00. Newly created lots 2 and 3 submitted by applicant and owner of the Renewed Church Incorporated. And then we'll also public hearing for an ordinance to amend section 10-1-15I3C to regulate the height of fences. And then finally, we have a City Council listening session sometime in February. I will finalize that and ask for volunteers sometime this weekend. Sorry, work has been busy and I haven't had a chance to do that. Other than that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Tim. Any council discussions? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Good night. Thank you. Stay warm.